Thank you. I'll just go down the approved agenda if it's all right with you, Madam Chair, or the sure. Oh, absolutely. Sorry. I'm gonna pop it to you at Human Resources.
I think he was going to his first two anyway. So
Each one take the whole thing. I'm
you
gonna
liked when he
say,
was sitting right here, so you could talk to him, right?
Hmm.
You liked when he was sitting right here, so you could talk to him, right?
I want you to sit there. This is our first. I don't know, but of course my computer would do this when I reopen.
Oh, yeah, that's not good. Sit here a minute.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm actually gonna send it over to the Assistant County Manager and he's gonna wrap up the first couple for the committee report. And then we'll come back and give y'all a chance to read what we sent you earlier today if you hadn't had a chance to.
Thank you, Catherine. Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair. There were four changes to the budget, the recommended budget, a reduction in carts to the 113,577 that was requested, adjusted JCPC budget based on state new rates. Also an increase in the jail juvenile safekeeping, which was a state increased rate, and a reduction in the proposed rezoning petition fee from $450 to $350. The Human Resources Committee did meet and they did not recommend any changes from the four positions that were included in the recommended budget. So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
It's taking up that high. That's not the salary. That should be the salary. Benefits should be 83,000.
So we want to position one for inspection.
If you'd like, if you'd like, maybe I can speak to this a little bit. This is some of my background. As you all know, I was the planning and development director for a number of years prior to being assistant manager and manager. The reason that we're recommending a planning director position in the budget is because we don't have that level of knowledge in there right now. We have a planner position. There was some discussion, I believe, at the committee that you may be able to add this position now and then consolidate a position later. But by creating this planning director position, it's giving you that higher level knowledge that you do not have right now. And the idea would be basically to split inspections from planning. You'd have a planning director and an inspections director. Even when I have been manager, I have been doing a lot of planning. Any rezoning or any zoning ordinance amendments that we've had, I've been involved in those. I've written those up. And so you're losing some knowledge there that needs to be backfilled. And so that's why we're recommending it. Certainly it's your choice if you want to pull it out, but I can assure you, you need a planning director level person in that department and you don't have it. Well, when you have someone that covers things, you don't need to. I couldn't justify putting it in place as long as I'm able to help out and to do those things. But that was my professional training. And so you fill in where needed. And so again, that's why we're recommending it, because that level of knowledge is not there right now. The director that's in charge of that department is more of an inspector type. There was some discussion, I know, at the committee level about sort of some plans and things we're talking about and working through related to that. But we do see a need for this, a planning director level of knowledge in that department. No, an engineer is not a planning director, and we don't have a licensed engineer on staff either. No, we don't have any licensed engineers on staff at all. Yeah. Yeah. But engineering is totally different than planning. Sure. Yeah, I think he is interested in maybe going after an AICP certification, which is the highest certification you can get as a planner at the national level. But that is very difficult. And I think he has his hands full ensuring that he's qualified to remain an inspector over the next couple of months versus going on to an AICP designation. Yeah, we do have a planner. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You all are getting ready to be looking at a subdivision for nearly 200 lots coming up. You do not have the level of knowledge on your staff right now to be able to handle those kinds of things that would come forward. Yeah. Well, that's inspections. That's inspections. So that's separate. So inspections is over here. Yeah.
So you've got planning issues, you have qualified people, the state does have staff.
Not on the planning side, on the inspection side. That's correct. Yes.
May I ask you a question?
even if we did budget for the position, if we decided that we wanted to do the position, we would have that right.
Yeah.
There's no notice for that purpose.
That's what we decided. Let me ask you a question. Trying to formulate my question simply. Why would you want to question a manager who has been managing this department for many years, who now says we have a need for a qualified person on staff who they have worked with for many years, at least 6, 7 years, and they say, we don't have anybody to do that job? Why would you question? Well, you have a right to question, but my question is, why would you think that that person is not telling us the truth? We don't have it.
I'm just questioning to make sure that we really need not. Like I said, people there, if we create decisions, the board always told them, and it's going to be right by our citizens' money. And that's a lot of money. So I'm actually questioning to make sure. I manage people every day. Sometimes I don't make the right decision. I don't make the right decision, even as on my own business, managing people. And sometimes it's not the right choice. So that's why I want to make sure.
There is a situation where this position may not be filled, as you mentioned. As was discussed at the HR committee meeting, we are working through some personnel issues that we're working at. This position, as we're naming it, is really to give us some flexibility in order to work through that situation. And at the end of the day, you may not have any more positions in the planning department when it's all said and done. But this allows us the flexibility to be able to better reorganize that department and to better have the knowledge that you all need to ensure that things are being done correctly.
Put it on the budget.
Yeah, you all have really got to rely on the manager that you have in place. And I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about your next manager. You have really got to allow them to manage. And this is a position again, this is my professional, I mean, I have a master's degree in city and regional planning. That's what I've done for a number of years. You all do not have that level of knowledge right now that you need.
Okay. Because we are, not like that, regular city county manager make that type of decision, we don't know how long it's gonna take for the other county manager. So I think one of the things the board is looking at is saying that once things are up in the air as it relates to who and when will have actually help in the county manager, that decision not be equal to, the board has an opportunity to decide whether or not.
Also, like the master of the family. Do we have a motion on the floor to put it in advance? Or changing? Yeah, and then it will come back before it's high.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. We sent out an email earlier, Chris did, oh, excuse me, Assistant County Manager Dylan did. If you want to, does everyone have time to review it, or did you want to look through it, or do you want me to just summarize it, or? Okay. If we just want to take a minute to look at it, this is a combination of all the responses from all the private nonprofit fire departments. We received a response from all of them, but Townsville and the rescue squad on what their wants or needs or. Yeah, it should be right there on your desk. I left you. I have one for you. I thought I left. It was earlier today. We just had a meeting last Tuesday and it was due today from them. No, sir, I could not. I was relying on all volunteer departments.
Last meeting, I was going to say meeting, first of all, one of the reasons for able to be there, so they do take up the subject. But one of the requests that I had, we want to propose a statement to the committee members of what they felt would be the best to their particular perspective. Fire departments and who needs of their review, so when they're making their decisions, they work out a general idea of what expectations and what requests that the various fire departments. They have done that according to Bigelow and stuff to fire departments. However, that was just last week, so it's pretty much a work job, and this is not been so I know myself, that I have to do that, I'm not in a chance to go through my email office thing for the first time.
Yes, ma'am.
There's no way that I have to do it right now, and maybe form a decision, I think some of the the same way, they would like an opportunity to do the information before making any kind of final decision as it relates to the decisions. So that, with the volunteer fire departments. For that reason, I would say that, the issue really remain in committees, but there's not any kind of resolution made. An opportunity to do. It's not, they address the issue. There may emerge for possibility, one negative, we don't know. You know, how it's going to be. But,
And I think that's probably the best way to do it, but just to give you a summary of what is here. I think we had 8 responses that came in. There is support amongst many departments for 24-hour coverage in the future. So they talk about wanting to have 24-hour coverage, which our recommended budget includes, moving to that. They talk about support for increased part-time rates. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. Yep. All right. Yep. Yep.
Her to review this on my own, you know, so I would know what's in it before somebody's gonna summarize on my behalf.
No, we just wanted you to know the budget impacts
Right.
that are reflected in the write-ups, but no, that's totally fine.
The next item you have?
That's the final. That's the final budget impact that I would need to know a consensus on to be able to prepare it for the June 5th meeting.
Ms. Bigelow, I know one of the things that we discussed at the Human Resources Committee meeting was the fact that the Department of Social Services did ask for a newly created position.
Mhm.
And I know that the committee had a recommendation. We're not authorized to decide that on our own, but so that's something that needs to be introduced to the board to see how the board feels about it.
Okay, Chris, you want to take that?
So there are two DSS positions in the recommended budget. One is an accounting specialist position and one is an IT position. There was a lot of discussion. There was consensus that the IT position was needed because that's coming from a private contract to an in-house position. There was a lot of discussion about the accounting specialist position, but no recommendation to remove it from the recommended budget.
Okay, so just to be clear, as it relates to the IT position, we have had an opportunity to talk to our IT director for the county. And he, you know, was in favor of that position. So I think the consensus of the board, the committee, was that we do go ahead and approve that particular position for the IT. I think it would be beneficial for the county. And I think from what I'm hearing, there's really no objection as it relates to the IT position. Am I correct? You know, so I think, you know, that's definitely, you know, okay. Now, in terms of the position for the accounting specialist position, the committee did not make a decision one way or the other as to, you know, going forward with that. You know, I've heard some positive recommendations and I've heard some negative. So you all would need to make a decision whether or not we have a consensus to add that particular position as a new position in Vance County.
There was a agenda that was sent out by email today. Did we not get a printout of that? It was a what? Proposed agenda that Chris sent out this morning. Did we not get a printout on that? I don't get a chance.
I've been at work as well. Yeah. Could you give a highlight of that?
I think the clerk's going to make copies, but the only substantive information in there is the changes that you've already agreed to from the recommended budget. which adds a bottom line figure of 17,804 to the general fund budget.
And what this agenda just says was just the suggested changes. And then we talked about the Human Resource Committee and then the fire department, once we've put that to bed, and then the final budget adjustments. And that was the 4 items on the agenda, just those 4 things that we're reviewing. And then the 4 budgeted positions were the planning director, the IT position, the ETJ, and the accounting specialist. And then that was the wrap up of the agenda.
And just for clarification, while we're waiting on Kelly, the other position that we were going to be adding as a new position, was a position that we would be sharing with the county. I think we discussed that in human resources, and I think everybody was pretty much on the same accord that, we would agree to fund half of that position.
Thank you.
And that is really needed here in Vance County, because that would allow us to share the expense with the city to hire an inspector. Somebody would go out to a lot of these abandoned buildings and inspect, and so that the owners could be notified or the decision can be made by the city as to whether or not we want to allow the person time to fix up or whether or not the building needs to be condemned and tore down. So paying for that position really will help that particular area, which is the ETJ district. I think that's your district, Leo. And because there are a lot of properties that they're backlogged on and being able to get to and inspect. So, at the time, the city made that proposal, and I think the board is pretty much in consensus of going ahead and sharing that expense.
Yes, ma'am. I'll put it in the
And-
budget. And that was the final thing on the proposed agenda. The only thing is that accountant specialist that we need to wrap up on. And I guess when the next public safety committee meeting would be before June 5th, I'm assuming.
This ETJ thing, why does that need to be a full-time position? What's the rationale behind it being a full-time position?
So this is a city position that the county would put in 50% of the cost. The reason and where this came from a conversation with myself and the city manager. And we see a significant need in the ETJ. We get complaints all the time related to the ETJ. A part of the ETJ, the city is responsible for when it comes to zoning enforcement. And then the county is responsible for nuisance abatement. And so the solution to that was, as the city manager and I talked, was that we both felt we did need a full-time position to really give it the attention that's needed in the ETJ. It's been neglected for too long. And so we did believe, both the city manager and myself, that would be a full-time position to meet the needs there. But the cost would only be 50% that we would shoulder.
And for clarification, would that also encompass them using that position for other districts as well, such as District 6, that has that same issue? Or would it just be limited to ETJ?
Well, it would be very similar to the position they funded in our animal services department. So the focus of the position would be the ETJ, but certainly could be used elsewhere when time allows. Yes.
Just wanted that clarification, because I actually rode around my district and I see that there are a lot of abandoned buildings that may need someone to actually examine to see whether or not, what the city would decide as to whether or not what they should do with them.
I would think that based on what Casey just said in terms of ETJ, that in terms of my area, also having worked with the Sorrel and everything, that it would not have been two of you came up with a workable solution to address the problem. I think that trying to move forward and work with the city, that it's a worthwhile venture. It's a worthwhile venture for us to try. If we have a problem with it, we've got a year to look at it and come back and visit next year and say it's not working and everything. But I think in terms of moving ahead, we have some things that have been, as Jordan said, were neglected for so long. It's a move in the right direction.
I don't say that we don't need a position. I just question whether it needs to be a full-time position.
I
There'll be
hear you, Dan,
additional
but I think-
inserts of activity on it, but after you get things kind of leveled out. And I guess the other question is, who's gonna help create this job description? Will that be a joint venture?
This would be a city position, just like the animal services position is a county position. They provide us funding for that animal services, but they fall under our policies, our procedures, but the agreement and the understanding for us to be able to provide 50% is that their focus would be in the ETJ. Their primary focus. What's that? Yes. Yeah, we would reimburse them if it's filled. Yeah, when it's
So
filled.
there's been enough conversation so that we know what specific duties for this individual are gonna be.
Yes, I mean, it would be a code enforcement officer that would have zoning enforcement, that would have nuisance and abatement within the ETJ, yes. Very, they have a other code enforcement position that's city focused, but this would be an ETJ focused position.
Trash dumping, that kind of thing, where does that fall?
Trash dumping could fall in that as well. Yeah,
That's what I'm
in the
saying.
ETJ, yeah.
There are a lot of variables in
Yeah.
here that we just got
Yeah.
a basic skin of what we think it's gonna be, but, you know.
Yeah.
I'd like to see more. I'd like to see the job description when they get through with it, make sure we're good on it, kind of thing. So,
I think it would be if the city don't have a position, I think that our position can say, okay, let's let them draw it, but let's see what it entails. Then we react to that and then get,
That's what's
then make suggestions, get it back to them, you know, rather than to say we develop and everything. Because we do the animal thing, but let's let them develop and then we send it to us, let us have input, and then we shoot it back to them and say.
I think that's
okay,
what I
what's
just
that
said,
job?
was just what
I
they
agree,
develop.
I'm saying in terms of having input. I don't want us to develop a job.
Yeah, well, and they didn't come to us and require us to provide to them when it talked to animal services. So I think it'd be appropriate for us to rely on them that they're gonna do the right thing. And if they don't, we don't pay for it.
Right.
You know, we can always reevaluate that, so.
Okay, and I think, in terms of the Human Resources Committee, we did discuss, issues involving, employee benefits. And we did understand that the budget did include a recommendation from the county manager for a 4% cost of living increase. And also, the creation of a 401k plan. And before someone gets up in arms about that, we do have a county retirement plan. However, with the 401k plan, that is a matching type plan. So unless an employee contributed a certain amount, the county would not be putting funds in for employees, but we would match it if they did contribute on their own at a rate of 2%. That is what was recommended by the county, our sitting county manager at that time in terms of employee benefits. And I think it was in terms of any changes to the employee was the 4%. It was the 401k. And was there any other anything else discussed about the employees during that Human Resource Committee meeting?
Not that I'm aware. I think you covered it, Madam Chair.
So is everyone in consensus with not doing anything as it relates to that recommendation at this time? Is there the employee, remember we discussed employee? Yeah. Yeah, so other than that, I don't recall anything else that the Human Resources Committee discussed. Mr. Brumman, was there anything else other than the issue about the volunteer fire department reporting back to us? Was there anything else from the Public Safety Committee meetings that was held last week?
I don't believe so. Are we gonna be able to have time to have a public safety in between now and the budget approval? If we can, I'd like to set that meeting if it's not too early. Mhm.
What, do you, are you?
Yes, sir. So we have this week as next week we have Monday, which is a holiday. So anytime this week, either tomorrow or Wednesday. And then we have next Monday is a holiday. And then we have booklets to Kelly by next Wednesday to be able to turn around the process, to be able to get it to print and publish.
Have what now?
So we normally try to get it to Kelly the Wednesday or Thursday prior to the meeting for her to have time to be able to get it together and send it out and make sure all that. So, and Monday is a holiday.
A number of years, we have a special meeting in the middle of June sometimes.
It is completely your decision. I'm just laying out the times and the dates. It's completely up to y'all whenever y'all like it.
Well, my work.
I'll be out of town on Thursday, or I leave Thursday morning. I've got a body meeting in Asheville, so I won't be available.
I'm not on that committee, that's something you three.
I'll be legislative. Of what, next week?
This week.
This week.
Mhm.
I won't be here. Thursday, I won't be here, or Friday. We're trying to do this before what day?
June 5th. Well, actually, before when Kelly, the
The thought was,
June 30, June 1st. If y'all choose to try to approve the budget June 5th, for us to be able to have plenty of time to implement it by July 1. That's state statute says we have to have it approved by June 30th. So to be able to implement it July 1, a little time in between is appreciated to be able to
I
get it
think,
in place and put it in the system and double check it and things like that.
yeah, I think rather than trying to rush it, that we just go ahead and, postpone that to maybe the middle of June. Ms. Faines would no longer, be at her current position. She'd have more available time. And since everyone seems to have, a tight schedule, then that'll give you all a chance to really look over the information and then be in a position to have a more informed decision-making process. You'd have a chance to investigate on your own. So I think, maybe instead of trying to rush it, it just may be that you all need to get together with Ms. Grissom to decide when that's going to be beneficial for the three of you who comprise the committee, to decide when you're going to meet, to give Ms. Grissom a chance to actually publicize the information, because she has to give the press at least 48 hours. So we don't want to rush her, and we want to give her enough time to go ahead and get that information out. So I don't think we need to decide today, but just you three need to get with Ms. Grissom and decide on a time that's going to be acceptable to the three of you.
What about Wednesday or Thursday, the 31st or the 1st?
One day is a holiday.
Like a holiday was Monday. Monday's holiday.
With the-
Monday.
Which
So
day
the
is that?
Wednesday or Thursday, that's
That-
28th.
31st, I have a meeting after school. I'm looking at the calendar, so I know I can do it 31st.
What about the first? Your last day of school?
My last day of school is the 14th of June.
What about June 1st,
That's on the work.
Thursday?
Mm.
Same time we had it last time. No, we're not. If you did, maybe we could look at things to me.
What do you say?
That's why I'm asking her right now for a calendar.
No, they had the meeting last time at 6:30.
I didn't know it was too late for me to change what I had, because I had.
No, but no.
He's just suggesting to do it at 6:30,
Oh,
which would work for you.
I was asking.
What you need before you go to the country.
Had it at 6:30, could you, like, make it early?
mm-mm.
I was the first one, you, Carol.
Fine,
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
4:30, which works.
4
best for you.
o'clock.
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock on the desk.
No, not the first. Lee having surgery the first, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm glad that no, I can't do the first. He having surgery.
So what committee is meeting? So I know, what committee
Public
is,
safety.
and they to do what are they doing?
No Friday.
Anytime after that.
looking over, and discussing this,
And
whatever,
that fifth,
this
we got
information you find in the packet and whatever else they.
Then what they gonna,
What
Friday.
they're gonna
four-
do, that's
Friday.
something, they're gonna
Friday,
come back with
four.
recommendations.
4:30 would be better, 30 minutes, anyway.
4 o'clock be fine.
Friday, June 2nd at 4 o'clock. Everybody.
And y'all, and would y'all expect a proposed budget June 5th? At the meeting?
Probably not. I mean, we would have enough to have conversation, public hearing and stuff.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
So Commissioner Brum, so it's that Friday, we're not gonna have a proposed budget by the fifth. Why can't we just meet that one day instead of the Friday, do another day? Anytime after that, cause if Lee gonna have surgery the first, I'd rather not be meeting that second.
You wanna do that?
Anytime, the fifth through that week, not the sixth, that's my birthday.
Okay, we're not,
Seven.
hello, we're not meeting, y'all to get together with Ms. Grissom as I suggested, and you all come up with the day.
Seven. June
Yeah.
7th be great.
All right. Move on. Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that was all, that was left to discuss as it relate to the budget. Was there anything else, Ms. Bigelow, that you can think of that we needed to discuss?
No, ma'am, that's it. Thank you so much.
Okay. Does the commissioners have anything else that they wish to discuss as it relates to this 2023 budget proposal?
Only thing I have is, only meeting we have is June 7th.
Public safety, yes.
We'll have nothing else between now and then. I just want to make sure.
You have the June 5th commissioner meeting.
I know about the.
I just wanted to make
About anything additional besides our June 5th.
Not at this time, Commissioner, Austin.
I'm trying to understand when this committee that just talked about meeting, when they meet, how's that going to affect, what they're meeting to do, what to affect, to do what to the budget, Catherine? What, when they meet, what's,
I'm assuming I'm assuming to decide whether or not to take the manager recommended budget of the excess money to the certain fire departments and
what was being proposed in
Yes,
terms of
sir.
positions with the volunteer fire department, the additional positions?
yes, sir.
Okay. Not this.
This is
That affects
what,
that.
this is what Ms. Feemster asked from all of the, or Chairman Feemster, from all the chiefs and their board of directors for what their wants and needs and their thoughts of everything that's being discussed of either redistricting, restructuring, the manager recommended budget and things like that. And
I
this,
want to say I'm confused to a certain degree, and the reason is that this, what's in this right here will affect the bottom line as what's in the budget, right?
It could.
I guess it could if they want, all of the consensus here is that they'd like more money than what we recommended
Okay,
per hour. I know Commissioner Brummett wants to restructure, so that could impact the budget. Tell me, Jordan, I'm struggling here trying to. I mean, I think it's just all up in the air because they want one thing or everybody wants something
I
different.
understand in terms of volunteer fire wants more
Everything.
money. I understand in terms of in terms of instruction is going to affect, what I'm hearing from the community and everything, what I'm hearing from the community and everything, some of this stuff like right here, that we don't need to move hastily in doing this. We need, it's not something that you do at the result of 2 meetings.
Leo, if you read through this, you will find that the vast majority of the departments support what we're recommending in the budget.
Okay,
That's
well,
what you'll find.
okay, I'll let them meet. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. I'm sorry.
Okay, if there's nothing else, is there a motion on the floor for adjournment?
Good job. With the most adjourned.
Motion that's been made by Commissioner Austin that we adjourn this meeting. Any second? Second. It's been made and seconded by